hanging, your stomach is bent so that your diaphragm can't breathe, air can't enter. So Jesus was there for 6 hours. You know what that means? For 6 hours, every time he breathed, he had to pull himself up. So he pulled himself on a nail up to breathe for 6 hours. He will pull up, breathe, go back, pull up for 6 hours. Remember, his back is already torn. So as he's pulling up, he's feeling pains on the wrist, his back is scrubbing on the cross, and his leg is feeling pain. To breathe and go back, every breath was death. For you, for 6 hours. And they were mocking him at the same time. So there was soulish torture, there was physical torture. As if that's not enough, he carried sin on him. So God was not connected to him at the time. God had to turn away. So there was spiritual torture, soulish torture, bodily torture.
If you don't understand what you just watched or what you just listened to, I admonish you to go back and play it again. Because many of us don't really know what Jesus did for us. Many of us don't understand or cannot understand what God, the Father, had to go through for humans, for man to be saved. We don't understand what God had to see to watch his son being torn apart by the very same ones that he came to this world to come and save.
He carried sin on him. So God was not connected to him at the time. God had to turn away. So there was spiritual torture, soulish torture, bodily torture. So much so that he cried, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? It's like a disconnection between your spirit and your soul. So the man was no longer alive. He died in the spirit before he died in the natural. The level of pain. We don't know what was done for us. In 6 hours. Can you imagine? And guess what? His mother was there. Can you stand naked before your mother? This is the man that the mother saw do wonders. How come? Imagine when he looked at their faces. See what you'll be interpreting. Some are saying, why? How come? Why can't you do anything today? Then the Jewish people were mocking. Physician, heal yourself. Fake prophet. I thought you said you had miracles. Why don't you come down? The thieves that were on the cross, one was mocking him. So from everywhere. Meanwhile, all the sicknesses on earth were on him on the cross.
I'll say this. We do not understand that physical death is a result of spiritual death. What do I mean by this? Spiritual death precedes physical death. Before you can die in the flesh, or before your flesh can die, you first have to die spiritually. This is exactly the pattern that played out in the Garden of Eden. Before Adam's flesh could die, he first had to die spiritually. Remember what God said to Adam: if you eat of the fruits of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you shall surely die. Two kinds of deaths happened to Adam. The first one was spiritual death. Now, the same thing had to happen to Christ. It had to happen to Jesus. But we need to remember that Jesus was not a sinner. Jesus was pure. Jesus was holy. He was obedient from the beginning to the end. Jesus never sinned. But yet he had to die. And for Christ to actually die, he had to be separated from God. God actually disconnected himself from his son for the sake of man. We deserve what Jesus went through. We as sinners, we deserve what if we were left to the hands of man to decide our punishment. We deserve exactly what Jesus went through on the cross, because that is man's punishment. That is man's definition and punishment for a sinner.
You have cancer, you say it's painful. He had cancer, diabetes, hepatitis, all that day at the zenith, because he carried sickness, he carried sin, and he carried the reproach of God. You don't know the reproach of God until you go to hell. So for those 6 hours, he was in hellfire. Until a point came when the price was paid, he looked up and said, I'm thirsty. They gave him vinegar. He said, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the river that flows from the throne of God. I'm looking for that which satisfies indeed. When they didn't have it to offer, he said, it is finished. And he said, Father, unto you I commit my spirit. I commit. Because they couldn't kill him. They couldn't kill. No, you don't kill him. This commandment I've received from my Father. I have the power to lay down my life and to take it up. So he felt all those pains, keeping his life inside him. He had the choice to give up the ghost early. But if he gave up the ghost before the scourging, the sacrifice won't be complete.
Remember why they crucified Christ? They crucified Christ because they said he was a sinner. The Jews, the Pharisees, said he committed blasphemy. He said he was the Son of God, which in reality is true. He's the Son of God, but they were not ready to accept him being the Son of God. Because what does being the Son of God mean? It means that you're actually God yourself. And the world wasn't ready for that. They did not accept Christ. And they said he sinned. They said he had committed sin. And the punishment was death on the cross. He had to go through suffering. He had to go through weeping. They had to drag him. They had to spit on him. They had to tear his flesh apart even while he was alive. This is man's definition and punishment for who has sinned against God.
That's where it is more painful. He had the power to say, no, now I depart. But he kept his life and suffered the pain. From the scourging, to the shame, to the reproach, to the embarrassment, to the flogging, to the crucifixion, until he checked and saw that the sacrifice was complete. Because he had the choice of letting you go to hell or of keeping you while he stays in hell. He chose to stay in hell.
No throne without the cross. There's no sacrifice without your blood.
It's quite interesting how people interpret this exact verse in the Bible of Jesus crying to the Father, my God, why have thou forsaken me? People like to say that Jesus was actually, he was quoting the scripture in the Old Testament. Because these wordings, what Christ said on the cross, that had been written before as a prophecy. So Jesus wasn't really quoting scripture of the past. He was feeling the pain of being separated from his Father. Because to be separated from your Father is to suffer, is to be condemned to death. God condemned Jesus to death for the sake of man. That is exactly what happened on the cross. Jesus felt the separation between himself and his Father. This is why he cried, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? It's just sad because if any other man had to go through what Christ went through, he would not survive it. But because he was holy, because he was pure, because he never sinned, God resurrected him. Today, Christ is alive. Christ is risen. And this is why Jesus is the judge of the world. This is why Jesus is the king and ruler of the world to come. This is why Jesus is our only connection to the Father. Without him, we are condemned. Without our faith in him, we are condemned. I just hope this message or this video touches you. If you feel convicted, go back and watch this video again. Why? Because a lot of these movies and stories do not do justice to what Jesus actually went through when he was being punished by the world for being a sinner.